Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We're having a small break today here in the VAB because we need to deal with that stranded payload that we have stuck up in orbit. You'll see obviously our DN5B sitting over here waiting in the wings. This one I have checked and double checked. It is fully outfitted with the correct HG3 engines, so hopefully I won't be making that mistake again. So I've been kind of mulling over how to go about this little problem, and well, there is only really one, as far as I can tell, good solution at the moment. We're going to start off with this Agena core. It is nowhere near the tonnage that we would like for this, but it does have a whole lot of battery, which we will certainly need. I will be adding a more heavyweight core onto this later, but basically the idea is to bring it another S4B upper with an H3. There it is. That will have some fresh ignitions on it so that we can use that stage to push it to its destination. And since just launching that plus a docking port would be kind of ridiculous, we actually do need some stuff to kind of maneuver it around while it's in orbit and make the rendezvous and all of these other nice things. So I will be building out a couple of things to do that. I think first thing that we're absolutely most certainly going to need is another Apollo docking system. We'll just go ahead and bolt that right there onto the top of our Agena. And so yeah, I'm gonna get building, and I don't know, you'll probably get a nice voiceover so you can listen to me ramble about this as I go on. So away we go. Alright, and well, if you're hearing that nice staticky noise in the background, it's because I now share a room with a server grade battery backup, and I have yet to figure out a good solution for moving it someplace where I can't hear it roaring like a jet engine in my ear. So I do apologize for that. I'll try to have it fixed soon. Anyway, so currently I'm trying to build out the, I guess the OMS stage for this, because we're going to need to maneuver around that big, heavy S4B upper with that H3 engine. So kind of taken a liking to this particular style. This will allow us to get the engines around the tank itself. And of course we're going to need some very industrial grade thrusters to try to angle things in and get this docking thing done. And we should probably make sure that we give it independent comms, as that's been kind of an issue. And full well knowing that we have some power draw issues with this upper stage, we might as well supplement those with these panels. And yeah, looks pretty good. So yeah, it's not going to fit around the engines, really. This is kind of the knee-jerk solution. Let's just make a huge tank. Oh yeah, insufficient avionics. We're like triple our limit. We can tuck these engines in a bit and move them way up, kind of keep them out of the way. Yeah, and then we don't need that much fuel. That's just making things a mite bit ridiculous. Okay, and let's not forget the heavy duty core. I mean, I know in game land that will work because they're not directly above it, but the exhaust from that would definitely be hitting the tank. So let's just invert this control core, which is not our default core, so we'll have to switch to it and invert these engines. And there we can push it from the back, and then we'll just switch back to the Agena for docking. We'll probably also want to leverage those thrusters. Well, lower on. That was really simple. So I hope this is going to work. I really don't know. It just kind of needs a paint job, I guess. I will probably go check this thing for docking clearances of my own accord, so as to not bore you with it. But basically we're just going to leave that stage up there while we proceed with the rest of our launches. There's this nice discrepancy between what MechJeb tells me is a window and what Kerbal Alarm Clock tells me is a window. And MechJeb is telling me that I've got a window in about 60 days. So that's the one we're going to shoot for. We're probably going to rush build this a little bit, and honestly, I think that this core stage is going to have this entire thing in orbit without any issue at all. Yeah. Our delivery payload here is something that could go up on an RA9. Although, considering that all of this is our delivery payload, probably not. So anyway, off to do other things. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We're back out on the launch pad, obviously. This is another one of our automated slugs that we are sending to rendezvous with our Mars station non-stop. This is an older model. Well, I had to roll back all of the HG3 series engines because of the foul up with the first launch of one of these automated slugs. This one is entirely on the back of J2s. And looks like we're kind of close to our relative inclination. Maybe I'm just going to let that drop a bit more. I don't want to use time warp, but, you know, because KJR stabilize the physics load. These clamps go... What are these doing out here? Okay, pay attention. Node. That's interesting. There's one on this side, too. Very interesting indeed. Alright. I guess those are left there from the last launch. They didn't clear because they don't look like they're technically on the launch pad. Yeah, there's that bounciness. Alright, throttle set to full. Ignition sequence start. And looks like we are all lit. So we're going to get these clamps off and get ourselves to orbit. And I guess I'll just pick you guys up there. So it's a nice, easy launch. I would say that this launch system is proven, but there's still some things I'm trying to figure out, and I'm blaming a lot of them on my time crunch lifestyle over the past month, 2 months, really. I haven't had time to sit down and actually think through a lot of my designs. I think the DN1A was the last one where I actually got a chance to spend a lot of time with it and try to figure it out and really try to make it the best it could be. And when I started upgrading it and upscaling it, especially here to this DN5 with that big J2 upper, it was kind of like a bang rush job. And I've made a lot of mistakes with it. It's a very, very capable platform, especially with the HG3 upgrades. But even here on this J2 configuration, it flies really well. It's just... I haven't sat down and paid a lot of attention and tried to get all of these quirky little issues figured out that really you should have done before you start putting things on YouTube. No, not really. This whole series is me learning, so every little bit I'm just going to learn. And yeah, I just had to double check. I do have the Saturn controller core there on the core stage. Alright, fairing sept is off, and if you haven't noticed, I've made a critical mistake with this. Like I said, this is one of the ones that I built before the HG3s, so it didn't really get the upgrading it needed, and I've certainly come to the conclusion that that docking port at the bottom of the tug module for the slug is the weak link here. How to go about solving that is a bit of an issue, because I need the docking port. I would like to have 2 docking ports. 1. And the dogs are saying hi. And, well, it doesn't seem to make any difference how many struts I throw on this thing. It's always going to have that wiggle. But there's a nice beauty shot for the day. And, well, the less input I give it, the more it behaves. And just till you get into this pretty high thrust-to-weight ratio, and it just goes absolutely bonkers. Yeah, it does make staying on a good relative inclination a little difficult. However, not impossible, and I just don't really have much of a choice. That's just, yeah. And we're lit, and the obvious problem becomes now obvious. Avionics are locked. Insufficient tonnage, or too much tonnage, insufficient avionics controls are locked. This is going to be a lot of fun. Alright, we're going to have to shut this down. This is not doing us any good. Assuming we're heading up to our apoapsis. Yeah, obviously. That's only 2 minutes. So unless we get avionics control, there's no good way to do this. It's either hit orbit or get avionics. I don't have a whole lot of other options. I guess this is one I just forgot to edit. It doesn't have the control core for the S4B stage for some reason, and all of the wobble problems. This is going so well. Like, once I have avionics, I should probably shut down, just do the burn at apoapsis. Provided, of course, my apoapsis doesn't just get completely out of the way. I wonder if I just bled a tank. Ah, unlocking avionics controls. Thank God. RCS arm. Let's cancel that roll. Let's see if we can't just nail an orbit out of this, please. Yeah, I don't think we're negating that roll at all. Oh boy. Alright. Shut down. We got like 5 minutes to kill. Oh, good thing we have 3 ignitions. Oh boy. This is a heavy, heavy cargo, so we're just going to open up one of these tanks and let the big thrusters on the tug help out. Alright. It's Ullage RJ2, stable, ignition. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and circularize. This shouldn't take but a second or two. Like, we have a margin to think about, which we might be a little below. Eek. Alright, essentially 380 kilometer by 161 kilometer. It ain't clean or pretty, but it's our orbit. How ironic that this is the mission that I most need to succeed. Set as target. Oh, say it said something there about create orbit next transfer node. I'm like, oh yeah, let's try that. What is lower delta V? Departure in 54 days. Transit duration 163 days. 201 days. Very interesting. Initial orbit must not be hyperbolic. Way to go, MechJeb. Oh, we're hitting the moon. Seriously? And so it's not going to tell us our course. Well, in MechJeb we trust. So let's go ahead and face into it and get this underway, because this kind of has to work. Right. Alright, come on, J2 ullage. Ullage, please. There it is. Last ignition. Turn stability control back on and just face him right at the node. Alright. So I started noticing the wobbliness, which I suspect is this docking port is the weak link in the equation here. I guess I had thought previously that it was the control unit, but that was offset to the side on the last version and should have been offset to the side on this version too. I apparently removed it either on accident or, I don't know, can I blame the Kraken? You know it wasn't the Kraken, it was me. Sometimes I just have a dumb. But that has not affected the fact that we are still showing a power draw. I suspect the slug here has another one of those 1 meter control cores that'll do like 150 tons, but you can't shut it down. It draws more power than what I think our twin RTGs are producing, and those are the only things on board. So we're probably going to shut down the rest of our avionics. Just let that 150 ton core take care of all this, because this doesn't weigh 150 tons easily. And maybe those twin RTGs will be able to power it and just it, hopefully, but as I'm sure I talked about before, the electric charge doesn't drain when you're not when it's not active vessel. So we got that going for us. But oh yeah, where I was getting with all of that is that I'm just keeping my eye on the thrust to weight ratio. I'm also not touching the controls, which the launch seemed to do fine until I started messing with the controls. And then it started going crazy. And we're just going to speed through the majority of this burn because it's kind of becoming a lot of the same thing here, watching me try and fail miserably to put these things on a collision course for Mars. Because really, if there was any chance that I absolutely positively needed a mission to just go smooth, it would be this exact one, because this is the life support tank that the crew absolutely needs for their extended stay in orbit of Mars. And predictably, I will muck this up. Well, I missed by a fairly decent margin. 6 units of fuel here. I don't think that's going to be enough to displace 7 meters per second, but I also don't know how much I trust MechJeb. We're only a minute past the node. We started 3 minutes, or 4.5 minutes beforehand, so I don't know if I'm actually going to worry about it or not. So what I am going to do is game the system a bit and drain these RCS tanks into our tug, whose thrusters we were using a while ago. In. Good enough. And we'll just decouple node. I should have unlocked that tank when I was in there, huh? Pull ourselves very gracefully away. So we don't really have any idea about our telemetry until we get past the moon, or at least inside its SOI. Alright. And let's go ahead and just extend these. I don't know why. I want to see how they work deployed. It's kind of a crucial question that maybe I should have solved before now, but it also does give us more leverage on changing our heading, because those thrusters being further away from the center of gravity will give them a little more oomph, or leverage, I guess is the word I'm looking for more accurately. And I'm also going to go through and unlock these tanks, and then we'll fly out to the moon and assess our situation. Wow, we are off by quite a bit. This should be interesting. And wow, are we losing electric charge. And apparently we have a Kerbal alarm clock notification coming up because it's dropping me out of time warp, much to my displeasure. Yeah. Okay, one of our other slugs is ready. I think our launch pad is still rebuilding, however. Oh, come on. This is probably the launch pad notification right now. Yeah. No, it's our Earthmore's transfer point. Is exactly right now, except if you ask MechJeb, in which case it is much later. Alright. Let's take a look. 1, 2, wow! Okay, that's without our 7.5 meter correction. So let's just create a node. We'll try to do it here at our lunar periapsis. And true to form, the dogs just kind of went crazy for about the next 15 minutes while I was trying to record, as a group of people decided it was a really good place to have a conversation right outside the house. No big deal, really. I ended up just deciding to speed through a lot of this because this is just a lot of me tinkering and pulling at nodes and wondering why the hell I can't get a solid encounter. You'll see the closest approach node, they move closer together and then they jump pretty far out through the orbit, and it just gets really weird. And so I've kind of come to the conclusion that maybe I'm just going to wait until I'm outside the moon's sphere of influence and try to just mess with this node a whole lot more off camera, or really what is going to inevitably be a very long series of nodes. But I can make this first burn here to bring us in a lot closer, and then that will get the ascending and descending nodes to a place where I think it'll be easier to make a plane change, and also a chance to give this engine configuration a good once through and make sure all of it is working well. I've had problems with the tanks aligning correctly on the extender arms, but yeah. No more ascending and descending nodes. Of course not. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for this episode, guys. This one has turned out to be way more trouble than I think it's worth delving into right now, but we'll get around to a correction burn here shortly. Until then, thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate it, and I'll see all of you in the next one. So until then, see you later.